let's see what I need to do here. Participants.
Gallery.
Gallery. All right. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Now I can see. Oh, people I didn't see earlier. Hi, Lucy. And this is wonderful. And Pat, all the way from Hawaii. Isn't this wonderful? And our lovely couple from Fresno and Carmel. And gosh, we're almost international. This is great to have you all here. And I just want to welcome you. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Phil has to say to us. I'm just going to jump right into the daily word because we want to talk about mothers. Today is Sunday, May 12th. I honor and bless the world's mothers. Today, I offer a blessing of gratitude for the loving, nurturing spirit of mothers. I bless my mother and those who have shared a mother's love by supporting me throughout my life. I think of the many ways they have been present for me over the years with unconditional acceptance and love. I envision all of the mothers, grandmothers, and caregivers throughout the world surrounded by love and light. For those in my life, I take time to express my appreciation with words, gifts, and time together. To mothers-to-be, I prayerfully affirm health and ever-deepening joy. To mothers no longer in the world, I hold them in loving prayer and hold thoughts of joy and gratitude. I bless their souls' ongoing journeys, knowing bonds of love keep their memories alive. That's so beautiful. I bless their souls' ongoing journeys, knowing bonds of love keep their memories alive. And from Proverbs, where we always hear such wonderful words about women, her children rise up and call her happy, or in some versions, blessed. And that's from Proverbs 31:28. And you know, it's just not only the children that call up their mother's ideas or thoughts, but we call up all of the mothers who have birthed new ideas into our lives. And today I'm so much thinking about Dorothy Pearson because I think we are all of the age here that we have had her personal experience in our life. And she unites all of us today as we come together and honor her spirit with us today and with her husband, Phil. It's just such a blessed moment. I was talking to Phil before we started, and I told him I was able to go last Sunday to the final service of the church that he pastored here in Sacramento, that they together pastored here in Sacramento. And it was a very charming and very warm and loving time of remembering those who have gone on before us and served in that church. And we were actually able to call out the names of mentors and people we had. And I called out Dorothy Pearson. And it just felt so warm and wonderful to be there as they moved to a new location. I wanted to read something else to you I thought was, I got it off the internet, but I thought it was really valuable. Since Jesus Christ is the cornerstone of unity, it says, unlike many people of his time, Jesus Christ valued women and treated them with respect. There's a good example of how Jesus treated women written in John 4:27. Quote, just then his disciples returned and were surprised to find him talking with a woman. But no one asked, what do you want? Or why are you talking with her? A man addressing a woman in public wasn't very common at the time, which explained why his disciples were surprised. However, Jesus treated this woman with respect, just like he would treat a man. The main point we can take away is that Jesus treated women not as second-class citizens, but as people worthy of appreciation and respect. How do we follow his example in today's church? Well, I can say in this church, we honor women very much. And so many of you contribute so much to the ongoing spirit that we share together every Sunday. So I give thanks for all of you, whether you biologically had children or not. You are all birthing ideas in all of us as we move forward in our consciousness. That's just so beautiful. I hope that was inspiring to you. So we can go into our affirmations now, which is there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. Can you repeat that with me? There is only one presence, one power, one love active in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. And as that sinks into your spirit, acknowledge the same is true for all of our friends and loved ones. As we recite together this time, there is only one presence, one power, one love active in your life. God, the good, omnipotent. And as that love and affirmation spreads out to include the body of believers here, we say together, there is only one presence, one power, one love active in this ministry. God, the good, omnipotent. And we don't hold that selfishly for our church, but extend that out to the entire world when we say together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in the world today. God, the good, omnipotent. And we bless our Mother Earth as well. Amen. We're going to sing now, It's a Special Day. It's on page 221 in your hymnal. I think we all know it, but if you need to refer to it, it's there. I'm a word person, and so I have to tell you these words because when this program is put up on YouTube, new listeners have no idea what we're singing about. So until we figure out the technology to put the words and the music together, I'm going to tell you the words are: something is occurring, something new is stirring, something of the Spirit blesses me today. Energies are swarming, totally transforming. Something of the Spirit blesses me today. And the second verse is: knowledge is provided, I am being guided. Something of the Spirit blesses me with light. I have perfect leading to the good I'm needing. Something of the Spirit blesses me with light. I accept my blessing. Through it, I'm expressing something of the Spirit, gloriously good. Every trouble ceases, all my joy increases. Something of the Spirit blesses me with good. And the chorus is simply, it's a special day, it's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. It's a special day, it's a special day. I can feel it deeply in a special way. So I just hope you'll indulge me taking time to say those words, because it's just so important for people to know what we speak. Well, moving into announcements, we will be here on Zoom with Reverend Phil Pearson next week as well. 2 weeks in a row is a very special time for me to serve with him. We're still looking for another platform assistant. And if you feel so called, please contact the church and know that we're just moving forward in spirit. And it's just wonderful to be together, no matter if it's on Zoom or when it was in the past in person. I love that too, but nothing can stop this, right? We're just zooming ahead. So I bless all of you for being here. And with that in mind, let's turn to page 356, and Emmons going to put up, and this time we will have the words and pictures to the song, but I've got Peace Like a River on page 356.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a river. I've got joy like a river. I've got joy like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a river. I've got joy like a river. I've got joy like a river in my soul. I've got love like a river. I've got love like a river. I've got love like a river in my soul. I've got love like a river. I've got love like a river. I've got peace, joy, love like a river in my soul.
Wow, love, joy, and peace. What a combination to have in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls, as we take time to reflect on God's goodness today. We take time to know that when we pray, we say, Father, Mother, God, if we want to, and I want to, because I want to include all of the characteristics of what makes God, God. As we think of our mothers, we can think of mentors who have been in our life. We can think of sisters, maybe, or children, or nieces, or maybe a neighbor, maybe a teacher, maybe a minister like Dorothy. One of the best things I learned from her is, I behold the Christ in you. And every time I take the time to say that, judgment falls away. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you to all of the women in our church, whether you're birth mothers or mentors to all of us. I bless you today. Give thanks for you and your influence. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for all of your gifts. Amen. And now we get to turn the service over to Phil. And we're so thankful to have Phil. Sounds so comfortable, and I do feel comfortable, but it is Reverend Phil Pearson. I honor you today.
Thank you, Esther. And as I've shared before, we're happy to share again. It's always a pleasure to serve with Esther. We've got to know each other through the years, and as she shared, I had the privilege of joining her with her wonderful husband in marriage. And so we have a great oneness, and it's a joy to be with you, her and all of you today. I want to begin. This, of course, is Mother's Day, and it's very special for many of you, particularly those who have your mother still in your life. But I want to begin by telling a personal story about my relationship to my mother, which had great meaning for me, and I think of it so often when Mother's Day comes. Some years back, somewhere when Dorothy and I were ministering in Sacramento, my parents lived on the East Coast. And one day, unexpectedly, we got a call to discover my mother in her 80s had had a heart attack and subsequently passed very shortly after that. And I had a personal point of sadness about it because I thought I never really got to tell my mother what she meant to me. I've always had a loving relationship with my mother, but I never had sort of a one-on-one conversation with her and really told her what her presence in my life had done to shape my life. She was a spiritual mentor. She was an example, wonderful example of what love can be, and then turned out to be the instrument through which I learned about the unity work and my future in the ministry. So I owed my mother so much that one of the thoughts that came after me, after learning that she had made her pass, was I never really got to tell my mother the depth of my appreciation for all that she had given me. And uh, some months later, I was talking to my sister and I was expressing that thought to my sister. I said, you know, I never really got to tell mother how much I loved her for being what she was in my life as an example and also as a guide to finding unity. And my sister was listening to me a long distance, and suddenly she said, "But Phil, you did." I said, "I did?" She said, "You know, I've been taking care of mother's things and her correspondence, and there was a letter in there from you. And it was a letter you wrote when you were in the service in Europe years ago. And in that letter," and then she read to me what I had said. And as I think about it, I get sort of choked up. In that letter, I had told my mother what she had meant to me as an exemplar of what love is all about, and also as the instrument through which I learned the greatest thing in my life when I learned about the unity and the unity ministry. So I share that story because there will never be a Mother's Day that I don't think about the fact that I did get to say the things that were in my heart for my mother. So thank you for sharing that with me today. When I think about talking about love, which is certainly the theme of any Mother Day experience, I think of the wonderful gift that Charles Fillmore gave us. And I couldn't tell you enough in terms of all that I read and know about religious and metaphysical teachings. No greater gift, in my mind, was given when Charles Fillmore said, you know, God has created us with the 12 capacities to use our minds. And he gleaned that all from his study of the Old Testament and of the activities of Jesus' life in realizing the significance of 12. And apparently, Charles knew that we are mind beings. There's no question about that. Whatever else we are, lawyers, doctors, ministers, not so nice, very nice, whatever, all the things we are mind beings. And Charles discerned that out of the symbology given to us through the gathering of the Old Testament and the New Testament, as Jesus highlighted the concept of 12 and the choice of 12 disciples, Jesus knew the 12 was tremendously significant. And Charles was able to see and to share with us that 12 represents the way in which we can use our minds. That there are 12 capacities of the way in which we can use our minds. And a lot has been written about that. And those of you who are long-time Unity probably are very familiar with the so-called 12 powers. And today, when we want to highlight unity, we want to discern what is it about love that we need to understand in the use of our minds. When you say, I love someone, or I love you, what do you really mean? Well, Charles said, if you are in tune with what love is really all about, you're using one of those 12 faculties in which you can use your mind, which we understand to be love. It is when you use your faculty of mind to think at one-ment. When you use your capacity to think at one-ment. And if you got up in the morning and lived all through your day, then went to bed at night and thought only about at one-ment with all you experienced in your day, you would be one of the earth's great lovers. Unfortunately, that's not the most common thing we find in life. We see it symbolized in the mother, of course, in that the mother uses her capacity to think at one-ment in regards to her mother. And obviously the family and others that are close to them, they're using their love faculty. Many people, of course, confuse that with something called feeling. That you say, you don't love him unless you feel it. Well, feeling can be a part of the process of loving, but it is not essential. Indeed, I would say it's not your place to begin to be a lover, to wait until you feel. Matter of fact, as I'm saying that to you, I find myself thinking, actually, it can get in your way. If you're waiting to feel love, that's a problem, because love does not start as a feeling. Love is started by our using the love faculty of mind. And the love faculty of mind is your ability to think at one-ment. The greatest lovers on earth that ever walked the earth are people who think only at one-ment. They don't think, those are the people over there, or that's that individual over there. That's not one with me. The true lover thinks, I am one with the all. I am one with every person. And of course, I immediately have to jump in and say, That doesn't mean you approve of them. That's essential. You may not like something that someone or any group is doing, but if you let your disagreement with them get in the way of your feeling one with them, you just stepped out of the role that love has to play in your life. And love, obviously, the concept of oneness means that when you're really a lover, you're in tune with everything that is of God. You're in tune with the best and highest about your health and well being. And the minute you step out of a sense of one-ment, you just cut yourself off from the inborn capacity for all of God's good, prosperity, health, and well being, financial success, whatever. The greatest way to fulfillment in life is to live the life of a lover. So it doesn't have anything to do with romance. Well, cross that out. It isn't necessarily connected to romantic movements or romantic books or even the romance we've had in our lives. It is a capacity that God has given you and me to think at one-ment, to be able to move through life thinking at one-ment everywhere, not just with people. I mean, people who are our greatest, I forget what the technical name is, people who love to grow flowers and everything. They're great because they are at one. They become one with the flowers. And they know how to take care of flowers just because somebody said, how do you have that knack to do that? Well, if they analyze, it's because I feel one with them. The concept of oneness opens the universe to us. There is no greater thing than love, as obviously Jesus affirmed for us. And in different ways, people approach that idea. There's nothing greater than love. But for us who are in metaphysics, and bless his heart for the wonderful work of Charles Fillmore, we are capable of understanding. You could only use your mind in 12 different ways. Anything you'd mentioned, if I were with you, I could fit it into one of those 12 faculties for you. And it is the love faculty that is unifying us with the all. I think my life has been blessed probably strongly by the example of my mother, in that I have always been a lover. Not all women would agree with that, but I've always been a lover. I mean, I always feel at one with everybody, only in the sense, not at one that I'm running around hugging everybody or approving of everybody. And that's hopefully, if you don't already know this, I hope you can capture this in your mind. There's a difference between loving people and approving of people. You can do both. That is, you can love someone and disapprove of them. It's like a mother, again, the best of mothers are such an example for us. There's nothing that a child can do that will make a mother stop loving the child. They may want to throw the child out of the house, but within them, there's always a sense, this is my child. I am one with them. I can't think of any way except this is my child, my oneness. But as human beings, what too often happens to us is that we start not with the idea of one-ment, but with the idea of analysis for what we think others should be. You know, I always have loved, and I know we've shared this in the past, that the first activity of the embryo within the mother is the activity of the heart, which somehow, somewhere in human unfoldment, has always been associated with the concept of love, the heart and the love. And again, I think it's the activity of spirit that was clearly enmeshed in the human unfoldment. The heart is symbolic of love. But the second movement, notice from an embryo activity in physical activity, is in the brain. The brain comes after the embryo, the activity of God formation of a child is the heart, the love activity. The second is the brain. Unfortunately, so many humans begin life from where? From the brain, which is a process of analysis, and all that we put into it for analyzing life and its values and its worth. But if we come from the heart, it isn't a matter of analyzing people, it's a matter of feeling at one-ment and thinking, more importantly, before feeling, because feeling doesn't always arise until after one has exercised true love, which is having a sense of at one-ment. Let me, I can't have a personal exchange with any of you today, but think with me now how you might be feeling about something very prominent in our physical world and in this nation, and that is the activity of the young people today in so many of our universities around our country, and they are all standing up for a part of the unfortunate conflict that has been taking place in Israel and Palestine. And let me just ask you, do you feel at one with all those kids? If you were coming, and I'm saying we, yeah, say, I address this to you, but I'll say, are we, I'm right with you, are we feeling what's wrong with their position or how they're dealing with their position? And that would be for many of say, you have no business inflicting property damage to make your point. So if you and I have been through that, and I have, I can tell you very honestly, I have wandered far afield from what I like to pride myself about, is I feel one with everybody and everything. But that's just an example where I get on the edge of losing my love capacity because I begin to analyze that situation. I say, there's nothing that should allow us to damage other people's property to make a point. And the question is, if that comes first in my mind and first in your mind, you just stepped out of your ability to think the most important thing to bring to the scene, which is I'm one with them. Because we are. We, and I'm not talking, but I would be sure of you as a unity student, you are at one with all the people in Palestine, but you are also one with all the Jewish people. But when you approach it from just an analytical, intellectual, it all gets very crowded. I mean, cloudy, and we're not really sure where we are or what we're contributing to the cause. Today on Mother's Day, we say there is no better, only way, really. Just like no mother can really ever be pulled out of loving her children, no matter what happens physically. And you and I are the mothers to our lives and to the world. And if we're mothering correctly, there is nothing that any group of young people are ever going to keep us from feeling and thinking, first thinking before we feel, thinking, I'm one with them. Not just because of their cause, I'm one with them because they are part of me. We're all one in God. There is no one and no person that you and I can be functioning that which Jesus taught and what unity represents to not feel at one with them. And let me repeat, as I have several times already, doesn't mean you approve of what they did. You may be abhorred if it's somebody who has perhaps murdered other people and everything. But if you're with me today, you will know that you are one with them. That's why you can look at the worst of our criminals, for instance, murderers or whatever, and know I'm one with them. I walk the human path just like they do. And as the Indians have said, if I were walking in their moccasins, I could well have gone that way. I could have taken people's lives. I could have raped women. I could have done all those things because we're all on the same path. I don't approve of it, and I may have to be a part of taking steps to correct the individual or limit their ability to express life because they don't have their life together. But when I think of them, the first thing that I must think of in the spirit of motherhood, if not of Christhood, is I'm one with them. We're all on the same path. Again, the American Indians captured it so perfectly when they were talking about the need to have walked in their moccasins before you make any thought about them. And of course, Jesus said there's only one thought, and that is to love, which is to be at one with. I'm one with them, even if I'm a part of representing a group who will contradict them in what they're trying to establish. In that doing that, I can do that from love, or I can do it from the intellect, which says, let's put these people down. Let's get rid of them. Or how awful can they get? If we're going to be the real exemplar of what Jesus taught and of the truth of the way we are made, we will always come from this place of, I'm at one with them. I'll take whatever it has to help correct you or even oppose you, but I will always do it in a sense, I'm one with you. We're all, and this sounds not corny, but to say we're all children of God. And we live and have our being only because we are children of God. And God is love. That is, God is the credibility of the words that we speak when we say we're all one. Somebody oddball didn't create you. You came from our mother, father, God. We all came from today we affirm our mother, God. And therefore we are always one. Even in our role, like some of us have as brothers and sisters. You know, there was nothing my brother or sister could have done that would make me not feel one with them on the path of life. Might not approve of them, but I will not let anything sever my sense of being at one with them, and therefore also there for them to help them in whatever way I can. Even if at the same time I'm saying, I sure don't approve of what you're doing, but I'm here with you and I'll support you in any way I can. So where are we here? I found myself thinking, to wrap this up today, I found myself thinking of something some of us here, maybe some of you, or all of you possibly even, participated in our ministry way back when I introduced you to a man who caught my attention when the news programs were showing him dealing with children. And he was teaching children how to take control of physical things in their lives. And he did that by teaching them to think what we're talking about today at one minute. I was so moved that these children were able to do what he was teaching that I invited him to be at one of our retreats in Hawaii, whereupon he taught us how to be one with physical things in our lives. Let me give you, well, the most prominent example he used. He had a bunch of very heavy restaurant spoons. And we were taught how to become so one with the spoon that we could just twist the spoon with very little effort at all. We just wrap the spoon around like that. Like if you go to your kitchen and get a big spoon, you try to just wrap that spoon like that, like curlicues, with very little effort. Think you could do it? I will tell you, you can't do it. Especially if you got the heavyweight deluxe model to last you years. You're not going to take that spoon and just wrap that handle all around. He taught us how to do it. How do you do it? He said, you take the spoon, and you all now can do this if you'd like to, if you don't remember that and haven't done it. You can do it. Guaranteed. You take that spoon, as he said, and you begin to just rub the spoon, probably with your thumb, whatever. Just rub the spoon lightly and then think at one minute. Whoa, where have we heard at one minute? Love. Begin to think at one minute, or love in our language. Think at one minute or love that spoon. Just rub it softly and continue to think at one minute. And he said, the first thing you'll notice is the spoon starts to get warm. I love that. Have you ever had somebody who's really at odds with you, but you're holding yourself and you think, I'm only one, I'm only one. And the next thing you know, that person begins to warm up to you. They feel you're not thinking at odds with them, but they feel your oneness. Well, anyway, back to the thing with and this man is a scientist of note. And anyway, we all did this, and you rub that spoon, and as he said, pretty soon the spoon will begin to feel warm. And then, as he said, as it gets warm, when you feel it's really getting to a point of hot, he said, just stop and take the spoon and turn it. And of course, we did it. Just go. I won't say everybody did it. Some of us were fortunate to be able to do it. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little odd story. After we had this experience first with the sinus, a number of us went to lunch at one of the famous restaurants there on Maui, where the retreat was, Maui, Hawaii. And people were talking about it, and the waiter who was waiting on us overheard it, and he said to me, he said, can you do that to show me? I said, well, no. And because inside myself, I was thinking, I don't know if I could do this under the pressure of everybody watching me. And so I said, no, I wouldn't do that to mess up one of the spoons. I'd be in trouble with your owner. And he looked at me and left. Pretty soon the owner of the restaurant came and he said, the waiter was telling me about your ability to do this. And I said, well, I didn't want to ruin it. He says, be my guest. Go ahead. If you can do that, the spoon, I want to see it. Well, I'm bragging to be able to say, I know, whoa, this is an interesting test. And so anyway, I did it. And it worked again. And we just took that poor guy's spoon and twisted it all up. Well, my point in sharing that is it's, again, a clear affirmation of what I have said to you is love. It's the only measurement. If you're not thinking at one minute, if you think I'm better than, or they're dumber than me, or of any of that that separates you, you're not in the spirit of love. But no matter what's going on, if you can hold a sense, I'm one with this person. I'm a part of the human race. I'm a part of God's family of children. I can only think I'm at one. I'm not better than them. I'm not worse than them. We're just all on the same pathway. And so if I can think of that at one minute, it opens doors for me to have transforming experiences. And you can soften people up like we can soften spoons up by truly thinking at one minute. People, and we do feel it. I know you know that. You feel when someone's one with you. They're not coming at you from the sense of, I'm better than you, or you're better than me, even the opposite. They just are feeling one with you. And I bless my mother that somehow I think that is one of the messages that she gave to me and to my siblings by her example. And to a great degree, I've been privileged to walk with people of all levels of life. And I just am privileged, again, I think, to my mother's example, to just always feel at one with everybody. Better than, worse than. I'm just one. We're all on the same pathway. And if you radiate that, you are in love. And you are practicing the love that Jesus was talking about. It may or may not lead to feelings. You do not at all have to feel love for somebody to love them, because it is, again, the mind's ability to think at one minute. It has no affection or feeling with it necessarily, but it can grow and expand into feeling. I remember I was certainly not impressed with Dorothy the first time I met her, but I knew I was one with her on the unity path. And as we walked that path, gradually feelings developed. And as some of you know my story and have heard my story, I began to feel so much that I didn't think it was a very good environment to be where to serving with Dorothy and her husband of the time. And so, I didn't mean to get in the story. It's a very involved story. But anyway, God took care of everything because, oh, gee, I've gotten into deep water now. I got to get it out of this spoiler. But anyway, in the spirit of it, one for all concerned, Dorothy and her husband, I felt I needed to leave, and Dorothy agreed. I need to get out of their life because I was working with them. But lo and behold, as I was packing up my office to get ready to go, her husband at the time came into my office, sat down, and started to cry. I said, Don, what's wrong? And he looked at me, tears come down. He said, you've got to take care of Dorothy. I said, take care of Dorothy. He said, I've fallen in love. Well, it's a big, I'll just have to know this is going to work out for you all right. And you're thinking, but see, Dorothy and Don had gone to high school together and all. They were just young kids that got married. There was no that depth of at-one-ment that Dorothy and I had discovered in each other, and that's why I was going to get out of there. But God seemed to think Dorothy and I had a life together to hopefully bless many people. And so that's when suddenly her husband said, "You got to take care of Dorothy because I have fallen in love with someone." So anyway, God took care of that situation wonderfully well. And even though uh, uh, I, I, I still left and went to Hawaii at that time because we wasn't sure that that was the right thing, but it worked. Boy, have I walked in deep water today. All it has to do with love. But I do that because I feel one with all of you, all feel like family. And so I share these things. God works in wondrous ways. And because you and I know that, we can be at peace and feeling at one with everyone. We do not have to save the world. We don't have to save people. We only have to feel at one with them and be open to what it is that God wants to do through us about the situation. And my closing note, I want to say very quickly that the young people that I used who are doing all their resistance in honor of their feelings about Palestine, that they represent to me a growing movement in young people around the world who are coming from their place of feeling at one-ment, bigger and beyond their traditional national borders. God is at work, and all things are working together for good. We're all one in the path. We are one. My love enfolds you on this wonderful Mother's Day. Have a wonderful day and a continuing wonderful life. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you. That was just wonderful. I will remember that for a long time. It's a play on the words atonement, isn't it? At one-ment, to be at one in spirit and with one another. I'll have to give a little plug for my dear mother who passed at the age of 90. She gave me 3 F's: be firm, fair, and friendly.
Mhm.
And that has helped me in dealing with what appeared to sometimes be difficult people in my life. So, well, with that, we want to take time to remind all of us that the offerings that you offer, both in your spirit and in your love and financially, does help this ministry continue. So I'm sure Emmon will put on the screen the website, which you know, capitalcity.org or Gmail. So that will help us to keep this moving. And with that in mind, we'll have our closing song, which is Let There Be Peace on Earth on page 3. Yes, with God as our Father, brothers all are we, walking together on this pathway at one-ment. I will remember that and refer to my notes as well. Thank you, Reverend Phil Person. And now if you all can unmute yourself, and Ben, if you can come join us, we can end the service with our prayer of protection.
The light of
The
God,
light of God surrounds us.
the
All of God enfolds us.
The
The
presence
power of
of
God protects us.
The
The presence of God watches
watches
over us.
wherever we are,
God is.
is
And all is
Wow.
well.
well.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther.
Thank
Thank you, Phil,
Thank you,
wherever you
Esther.
are.
Yeah, wherever Phil is.
And thank you, Esther.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Oh,
Yes.
thank
Happy
you.
Mother's
Thank
Day.
you.
Thank